Hi everyone, I'm Zen, your astrologer, and welcome to your midweek astrology update. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about the energies at play in the present moment, but a nuance of it or a side of it which I couldn't cover in the weekly horoscope, and it is really important, especially from a psychological and emotional perspective, because a lot of us might be experiencing a totally different side of this Piscean energy combined with an energetic Mars in the sign of Taurus. So today is the last day when we have Mars in Taurus energy, because very soon it is going to move over into the sign of Gemini, a part of the sky where it has a totally different expression, a totally different feeling, a totally different vibe. So today we might feel this Taurian Mars extremely intensely. Also at the same time, Chiron, the asteroid of healing, the centaur which represents the wounded healer archetype, holds a sextile with Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. And this also adds a lot of emotion into this whole astrological picture. And at the same time, perhaps right now, the most important aspect is that Mercury and Jupiter are extremely close in the sky to one another. Their conjunction is almost perfected. And what's more important is that this Mercury holds a trine with the North Node in Gemini, and the North Node is a symbol of our karmic path forward, the future, whatever it is that we need to do or accomplish or experience or live or basically work towards. So this moment, as in today and the next couple days, are going to be extremely tense psychologically, because all of us are going to be feeling the urgent necessity to have progress, to work with the influence of this Mercury trining the North Node. Even though all of these energies that I have mentioned are actually positive, they're extremely beneficial, they do help us a lot. Yet still, how we may feel them, experience them emotionally in the present moment may not be as positive, because it is a little bit way too intense. And because of this Neptunian Piscean energy, it creates a massive contradiction between the Mercury conjunct Jupiter energy, which is basically the truth, all of the practical, real, useful information, communication, plans, strategies, foresight, anticipation, even everything that has to do with everyone else in our lives who we are connected with. So that part is greatly emphasized, and it is extremely active and dynamic. So we do get a lot of communication, information, or we simply know what we desire and we know how to accomplish it. So that is very real, that is very practical, and Jupiter is the planet of faith and hope and optimism. So even this part of ourselves try to align to something grounded, something based on down to earth matters, and that is why the Piscean energy, Venus, Sun, and Neptune in the sign of Pisces, is almost like a contradiction to this, because that is way too dreamy. That is like there is no impossible. That is like life and reality, and everything that we experience here on earth is also just a dream. Maybe the dream of our creator, or any other similar philosophies or spiritual perspective which may be extremely dominant right now. And that is why, even though this energy practically is really good, because let's just think about it. All major planets are direct, so that means momentum, that means that things do actually align to resolutions, to completions, to opportunities opening up for us. even things from the past are going to find solutions. So simply put, it is really, really beneficial, just that not every one of us, or better said, only a few of us, can actually see it and feel it like this, because a lot of us might be heavily influenced by the Piscean side of things. So even though, let's say, a practical part of us is in touch with reality and we kind of know, we are aware of what is going on, what we need to do to progress, our everyday routines, etc. But our souls, our emotional worlds, our higher self perhaps, is really, really not grounded in reality. So it is almost like the sensation, or maybe the illusion, that we're living a very dual life. One of it is, of course, here down on Earth in society, where all the COVID and global crisis is taking place. But another part of us is somewhere in the ether, somewhere in a fantasy world. And perhaps maybe this dichotomy, so to speak, is not the biggest problem, because this duality is really specific to Pisces season. It's not the first time that we experienced this kind of energy. But what makes it a little bit different is that energetic Mars in Taurus, well, that can add a lot of frustration. A kind of frustration which in the present moment might simply not be under our control, regardless of our self-discipline, regardless of our wisdom, self-control. And the reason for this is, well, any planet which is in energetic degree, so 29 degrees, the last degree of any sign, its symbolism is greatly amplified, and usually the shadow expression gets priority. Now, Mars in the sign of Taurus is not very comfortable, because Mars likes to be quick. Mars likes to be instantaneous, fast. Here, now, if it has a desire, it wants to accomplish it as quick as possible. And Taurus is the direct contradiction of that, because Taurus is everything at the right time. Taurus is everything has to make sense in a very down-to-earth way, so you cannot jump from A to Z. You have to follow the steps A, B, C. Do things the proper way, do things meticulously, really, really work, focus, invest. And also you just have to know that certain things in life, especially Taurus finances and Mars in their material action, how we achieve greater prosperity, how we put our values into good use, how we share them, how we transform them, turn them into livelihood, income. Well, that is not always a quick process. That takes a lot of time. And of course, it's no problem at all, because all of us are rational human beings, and we just know that for certain things in life we just have to work. And Rome wasn't built in a day, so everything needs a certain time. But when Mars is in an erratic degree, it loses this rational quality. It transforms into pure desire, which just want to erupt like a volcano, especially because in the sign of Taurus, it feels so very trapped, slowed down. So what this means is, well, it is anxiety. It is a very strong restlessness, for some people frustration, which can turn into a mini episode of depression, even if that episode lasts for 2 or 3 hours or a day. Well, if you're feeling this way and you don't know why, you don't know what's going on with you, you don't know what's going on with your feelings, well, just look at it this way. Without a shadow of doubt, during Mars in Taurus season, you did work on something, you invested time, energy, even if just sheer willpower, faith, hope, everything into whatever you want to accomplish, either materially or regarding your self-worth, regarding your comfort, everything that gives you pleasure in life. And naturally with that comes an expectation of the moment when you can harvest your rewards. And it is now when Mars is ready to leave this part of the sky, well, its shadow expression is that right now I want to harvest and I want to experience the pleasure, I want to experience the fruits of my labor right now, but physical reality might not enable this, so this can create a big sensation of frustration, restlessness, a million questions of why, how, what should I do next, how should I haste things up in my life, or if some of us need more money, more material prosperity in our lives, well, today we might get a little bit obsessed of how or what it is that we have to do to obtain it very quickly, because energetic Mars in Taurus is also, we are so very ready to immerse, to enjoy, to just work with our passions and desires, may it be professionally, as a hobby, or basically any area of life. We just want to work it, live it, experience it. So if you're feeling a lot of restlessness, a lot of frustration, even anger, even not being able to connect with yourself or understand yourself today, don't panic, don't worry, because tomorrow Mars is going to move on into the sign of Gemini, and there it is a totally different kind of expression. Gemini is an air sign, so Mars can be as quick as it wants, as free as it wants, as dual and multilateral as it's comfortable with. But of course, let's be totally real, because even in the sign of Gemini, Mars has certain things which is not comfortable with, because an air sign, an air is thought, it is communication, it is something intellectual of nature. Even though it can actually express itself, it can shoot as many arrows as it wants, but there is no guarantee for any of those arrows to turn into something physical, real, etc. But at least it is free and it is much quicker, as in just think about it. The speed of thought, Gemini, the speed of communication, where sometimes when we just express ourselves verbally or in any other way through social media, that can reach a lot of people very quickly. A phone call, an interview, any kind of connection. So Mars does have an element of comfort here, so it's not really bad. And also the emphasis is definitely going to be placed on all of the expressions of Gemini. So communication, learning, processing information, trying to understand certain things, trying your very best to take on different perspectives, points of view, communicating and everything that has to do with it. And if you're like a public speaker or work in communication, customer service for example, or even a writer, poet, anything like that, Mars in the sign of Gemini is a really good and constructive energy. Gemini is also a very good negotiator, so for business, for contracts, for negotiations, for compromises, two elements reaching a common ground, that is really good. But of course, it is up to us to use the highest and best qualities of Mars, because at the same time, it can also be conflict, it can also be very quick and angry words, it can also be Freudian kind of slips where the truth just comes out, it slips out. But I do believe that most of us have enough self-discipline, wisdom and diligence to know how to turn that Gemini Mars into our greatest good. Now another energy which I would like to speak about is Chiron sextiling Saturn. Now what this energy means is that perhaps during this period, our vulnerabilities, our ancestral wounds, everything that makes us fragile, or where it is that we were wounded the most throughout our journeys in this life, and in some cases in Aries. So Chiron is in the sign of Aries, which can mean ancestral wounds that we carry genetically, something that wounded our whole family, our lineage, the wounds of our parents, etc. And sextiling Saturn, well, this is the moment when we have to embody true diligence and self-care and not allow our wounds, even if they might activate, or even if we might feel a little bit so very agitated psychologically that all our vulnerabilities are gonna be exposed to other people, Aquarius, our friends, people who we're connected with, people who we are dealing with on an everyday basis. So the sextile with Saturn, on one hand, it invites us to be diligent, not to project our hurt, our pain, our anger, everything that makes us, unhappy onto other people. And at the same time, not allow external triggers. For example, the wounds, vulnerabilities, complaints, ingratitude, problems that our friends share with us to get to us and just open all of our closed wounds. So this is where we have to discipline ourselves and keep a psychological distance, as in not to intoxicate our friends and social connections, other people, with our own wounds, but neither allow theirs to influence us in any other way. Of course, this doesn't mean not to share or not to be there for other people. Just we have to make sure to protect ourselves in the sense of being like an outsider, an observer, and not immersing neither in our own dramas or the dramas or anyone else. But there is also a very positive expression of this energy, where that Saturn might be a friend, an influential person who looks at us with great sympathy, who might actually appear in our lives and offers us help, any kind of comfort. Or basically, if we might be struggling with something, as in based on our weakness, of course, someone can just pop up in our lives and help us, give us a little bit extra security, encouragement, be that positive expression of Saturn, as in the father figure, the teacher, the mentor, etc. And chances are this can be a healer, because it is Chiron after all. It can be a positive, motivational, inspirational person, a really good friend. So it can be anyone who embodies the positive qualities of that Saturn. Now, it is the cocktail of all these energies, the Chiron sextiling Saturn, energetic Mars in Taurus, Mercury getting really, really close to that Jupiter and also trining the North Node in Gemini. Now, all of these can agitate us, they can frustrate us, or they can simply mentally slave drive us to pay attention, to be immersed in real life, to be open to all possibilities. It is basically, simply said, a really strong, a really impacting state of readiness, which we might not be able to control. We might expect, anticipate so very many things, and yet they are not showing up in our lives right now. And this might cause a lot of confusion, frustration, and simply said, inner restlessness. If you're experiencing this, the best way to simply calm yourself is to simply know that on the 5th of the month, Mercury is going to perfect its conjunction with Jupiter. So whatever news, truth, clarity, upgraded personal plans, communication, maybe response from authorities, paperwork to go through successfully. So everything that you might be anticipating, waiting for, well, that is the moment when it's green lights for all of this to start entering your life. So actually that is going to be the moment when you truly have to focus and especially know what you want, know who it is that you are deep inside of you, know what you can accept, compromise, and know what is sacred and holy for you, and there's no room or open discussion for any compromise. Because after all, that Jupiter is your inner truth, and Mercury your mental sphere, and just being very, very aligned with yourself and your life principles, your philosophies, is more than enough for things to work out very favorably for you. But also know that Jupiter is the planet of expansion, so it has the tendency to magnify everything. So the more stable, the more meticulous, precise your plans, expectation, or whatever it is that you are waiting for to enter your life is, well, the more intensely or the more anxiously you are going to perceive all of this. So don't be afraid, don't take it as a negative thing, just try to preserve a state of calm, rationality, and also faith. Ultimately, you must trust your inner truth. And last but not least, the Sun is sandwiched between Venus and Neptune in the sign of Pisces. Now this is a karmic period. This is when big karmic things happen. This is when every seed of intention, especially of karmic nature, that has been planted last year is going to see completion. This is where, our unconscious, our dream world, everything is illuminated by that sun. And Venus adds a lot, and I mean a lot, of idealism, a lot of unconditionality, a lot of fantasy imagination, a lot of divine presence into all of this. And even though this is a blissful, dreamy, artistic, spiritual energy, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. It can feel as if we are drowning in mystery, as if we are actually living in two different dimensions. One inside of us is full of these dreams, these blissful vibes, where almost fantasy is more real than whatever is on the outside. This is when we might have so very intense dreams, moments of divine synchronicity, see signs everywhere, connect to people from the very distant past, almost in a miraculous, coincidental way. So this is almost like magic, mystery, the presence of the divine being very, very active in our lives. But the problem is we cannot rationalize this. This is non-linear. This is ethereal. This doesn't have to make any rational or logical sense at all. And even the strong intuition and intuitive feelings, the prophecies maybe, that we are experiencing, well, it doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're just sheer fantasy, but we must take everything with a pinch of salt, because no one says they're going to manifest tomorrow. We don't know when. We don't know the connections. We don't know where this puzzle is taking us, purely spiritually speaking, from a personal perspective, of course. Especially that the Sun and Venus hold sextiles with Uranus, which means a lot of visions, which means being able to see, feel, experience the future almost as if we are in it already. But we must also not forget that Saturn, the Lord of Time, is in the sign of Aquarius, a very rational, a very, very intellectual sign. So that means that everything has to, follow the logical and the rational course, at least temporally speaking. That doesn't mean things have to be slow, not at all, because it's Aquarius, it's very quick. It is almost quantum. But even with quantum things, the moment of entanglement, when elements connect to one another and new possibilities and doors open for us, that doesn't depend on us, that doesn't depend on Saturn, that doesn't depend on anything really. It may only depend on the divine or the collective consciousness. So basically what I'm trying to say here, enjoy the visions, enjoy the intuitive perceptions, enjoy the altered state of consciousness. Just know that it will never tell you precisely when. It will just tell you that this is what you are going to experience at one point in the future. But regardless, like always, this is the most wonderful energy for artists, for creators, for dreamers, for healers, psychologists, parapsychologists, therapists, alternative medicine. So this is a really good time because it is also purification. It is also detox. It is also when we can communicate with our bodies in a very empathic or telepathic way, even when we just know what our body wants. We just know that we have to cut out that certain food from our diet because our body doesn't like it, regardless of how good it tastes or whatever. Or we have to cut out cigarettes or certain escapist tendencies. So this is a really strong inspirational energy which serves our highest good, but its expression, well, not all of it is that dreamy and positive. Sometimes, especially when we're talking about cutting out certain things from our daily routines or putting emphasis on detox and physical well-being, that can be very uncomfortable, but without a doubt, it is for our greatest and highest good. So this is one thing I really want to emphasize. Expect a lot of signs, a lot of dreams, a lot of miraculous events, a lot of karmic connections, completions, etc. But expect only the symbolism. Don't think that because, let's say, the divine through a synchronicity showed you that a very prosperous future awaits you and your material life regenerates, or for some people the love life, or whatever it is that you desire the most. Don't think that it's gonna be tomorrow. No one knows divine timing, especially when it is in the sign of Pisces. It is mysterious. You are just seeing things through the prism of your soul, and your soul kind of knows your future because it is creating it. But ultimately, time and certain things which have to happen in a logical action-reaction order, well, that is not under anyone's control. But of course, on the same note, don't be disappointed, don't be disheartened, don't lose your faith if that big sign of yours won't manifest tomorrow, because as I said, it can happen anytime. And that is why having strong expectations and putting dates on certain things is not a good idea in the present moment, especially the spiritual part, because in practical reality and down-to-earth matters, because of this Mercury's connection with the North Node, putting dates is actually beneficial. But I repeat, that is totally down-to-earth. That is like real life. So of course you have to plan. Of course your future plans have to have structure, dates, etc. And it is also possible for you to receive dates. For example, communication from an institution, authorities, bank, even friends, that you are booked, that something is scheduled, that something that you want to accomplish becomes available in this period, that period. So this is also like a contradiction between these two energies, the Piscean and the Aquarius, because the Aquarius energy is like clockwork. Dates have to make sense, and you already have to have, at least in your personal plan, a period when you know that you have to do this and that, accomplish this and that. And of course, with the Mercury and Jupiter conjunction, certain very important decisions, legal decisions, maybe contracts, maybe deadlines which depend on you, or a choice or a preference you have to make. Well, you must be ready for that, because the decision-making time is nearing an end. So you will probably either this week or next week will have to at least have a really, really good idea of when, how, and what you want to do. And if situation or simply life asks you to express your preference, to make a choice, put down a solid decision, well, then be ready for that, because that is extremely likely. So that is why I advise you not to take the spiritual part of that, even though divine presence is there and it's helping us, inspiring us, motivating us, keeping us faithful, showering us with the most beautiful dreams and fantasies. Try your very best to separate these two areas of life, these two personal dimensions, because the spiritual is only there to give you power, a psychological empowerment, faith, to show you that the divine is present, active, alive in your life. So whenever you're faced with that decisions in real life, you feel that much more confident. So don't let this turn into a disadvantage where you're just waiting for the sign to manifest or whatever. No. Every sign ultimately means one big thing, that you are divine and the divine is working within you and in the external, and use that as a power to enforce your decisions, because ultimately it is your earthly self which has to know what you have to do. So take the signs, take the inspiration, take this Pisces vibration, this ethereal presence, as just a blessing, as inner power meant for you to be that sure, that extra confident whenever you have to face a decision, a choice, or any kind of legal action, for example, signing a contract. Now, last but not least, I would like to speak about the romantic side of this energy, because Venus in the sign of Pisces, well, it can represent fated romantic connections. And of course, it is romantic, so it's dreamy, it's magical, it is creative, it is unconditional love. And this is the good side of the energy. But in astrology and in everything in life, things have a totally different side as well. And the most uncomfortable and negative side of this energy may appear in the lives of those who are single but looking for a serious, fated relationship. Now, you guys might be experiencing a lot of discomfort, a lot of... I'm not even sure how to describe this state, almost like a pain in the heart, almost like a heartache, almost like suffering but with no rational explanation, where your soul, something inside of you might be longing for your partner, for the love of your life to finally find you. And this feeling is so intense that it's almost torturing you emotionally. And I say, there might be no rational explanation for this. Let's say that maybe your life is full of happiness, joy, and you're so very okay with everything, and still there is this unexplainable sense of longing, this heartache, this pain inside. If you guys are experiencing this, do not panic. It is basically like a soul level mating call. This is where your unconscious, the most mysterious side of your being, wants to attract that fated person in your life. And most probably, we live in a quantum reality without a shadow of a doubt. There is so much scientific evidence to prove this. So that means that your fated lover, your partner, whoever has to be that very special someone for you, might be experiencing the same kind of pain. And ultimately, it is sometimes the pain, the discomfort, the sense of longing, the unfulfilled desire, which carves a path for these two lovers to find each other and meet. Sadly, this doesn't hold any guarantee that it's going to be in this particular Pisces season. So even if you somehow dream about your lover, you feel them so close, and you can almost, experience deja vus or visions or flashes where you just envision yourself in this loving, perfect relationship where the other person's heart, love, and soul nurtures you so deeply. Don't take this as a guarantee that it's gonna happen right now. The only thing that it actually means that such a person exists somewhere out there in the world, and you will meet when the time is right for both of you. Now, of course, I pray with all my soul and every fiber of my being that most of you do find that very special person as soon as possible, even today or by the end of this Pisces season. I really, really hope that, because ultimately every single soul connection that materializes, as in the two fated lovers do meet each other, well, that makes the world a better place. The global vibration, so to speak, spikes. So each couple who find this magical love in their lives, well, they become a portal to happiness, to joy, to love. The divine love will enter the world even physically. But at the same time, also know that this kind of love is sacred. So again, timing. Again, divine timing. You must be patient. And when you're feeling this overwhelming fantasy, along with the pain and the longing, but also these deja vus, these flashes of how beautiful this relationship can be, just know that this is a confirmation that at one point in your life you're definitely gonna find them. But when, we're just human beings, even the best and most potent psychic, astrologer, oracle, fortune teller in the world cannot tell you for certain, especially in matters of love, because love depends on both sides. Both have to be aligned with one another in order for that connection to take place. So please forgive me for repeating the same thing over again, but if you are one of those people who are experiencing this very, very strongly, if you feel like you're almost going crazy, you don't even know the difference between real life and this very strong feeling that your love is so close in your life, it's almost like having a cake, as in you know for certain that someone's out there, but you simply cannot eat it yet. Don't let this turn into depression, or try not to suffer, try not to feel broken, incomplete, or like a part of you is missing. Try your very hardest not to focus on the void inside your heart, that your life just doesn't make sense without that special person. Try to focus on the other side, that you know that it's someone's out there, you know that that person exists, you know that it is fated. You just have to simply wait it out and trust the divine, trust fate, and ultimately trust your soul that it will guide you to where you need to be. And again, words have power. Whatever we put out in the world, well, it contains information, and information creates. So this is my affirmation. I do hope with every fiber of my being, from the very depth of my soul, and all the wisdom and power that my ancestors gifted me with at the moment of my birth, I wish upon that you do find your fated lover in this Pisces season, and your happiness is going to be so intense that you guys will burn brighter than the sun, and your life from that moment onward is gonna be like an eternal summer. And I really, really wish this and pray to the universe that it makes it happen for all of you guys out there who are in this, because you deserve it so very much. Well, this concludes today's horoscope. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for all your support, lovely comments, and of course your generosity. I could not do this without your help, without your support. May Venus bless you in the most miraculous of ways. May love enter your life. And until next time, bye for now.